Hello everyone, it is TooAwesome here with another video. So I finally finished Yasuke, and yes, I know I am a little late, but the chances are you've heard quite a bit about this show even if you didn't watch it or even before you got the chance. And the majority of that talk was negative. So I'm here today to discuss if Netflix's Yasuke is worth the hate. So without further ado, let's review Yasuke. To start things off, Yasuke is a 6-episode action historical fantasy sci-fi anime first released on April 29th of 2021. Now, before I had even watched the show, I had seen some content on it. Content coming in the form of YouTube videos or TikToks, and they all kind of said the same thing. It was a disappointment. Now, I usually don't let stuff like this really affect me since there have been certain cases where I have liked shows that are really hated and disliked shows that are really loved. So I went into the show anyway, only knowing that it's about a black samurai, Yasuke, who's a real historical figure, and that the show was apparently not that good. Now, when I heard that the show is based around a real historical figure, I was kind of expecting a down-to-earth, real and gritty samurai story. Something along the lines of Samurai Champloo, but I wasn't expecting this. The first thing that stood out to me was the magic and the mechas. I don't mind magic if it's implemented in a more low-key way, but this was super over the top, and the mechas were even worse. Now, I myself am not really a fan of mechas or the genre as a whole, so their inclusion wasn't all that great for me. But I see what they were trying to do. They tried to make a sort of emulation of a more grounded work like Samurai Champloo, with the twist of there being more out there with the emphasis on all the different powers and systems, but I don't really think it works that well. It feels a lot like Blood of Zeus, but even then that show had more of a reason to use these over-the-top systems since it was dealing with Greek gods. But here we are dealing with samurai, so I don't know why all that crazy stuff was included since it wasn't really needed. I will say the soundtrack is amazing though, probably the best aspect about this show entirely. It's one of the better soundtracks I have listened to in a while, and that intro is just fantastic. The outro as well is really good and chill, so music wise it's not lacking. Visually, however, the animation is a little dividing for me. On the one hand, I feel like the animation wasn't the best. By no means was it bad, but it had that typical Netflix animation feel. Like I said before, it really felt similar to Blood of Zeus, but maybe just a little bit smoother. Now, I don't know if that's Netflix's signature style, but I honestly am not the biggest fan of it. It just kind of looks bad to me, and I'm a little surprised since Mappa was actually the one that animated this. The same studio behind anime like Jujutsu Kaisen, the final season of Attack on Titan, and just so many more, so I was a little disappointed at times with Yasuke's animation. It just doesn't seem like the same grade of quality as some of these other works. Now, I did say that the animation for me was dividing because there were aspects I liked. I thought that certain shots looked really good, especially the backgrounds and just the nature, and I thought that the actual sword fighting looked pretty good as well, although I thought it was a little unnecessarily gory, almost trying to force a little gore just to do it. But honestly, the animation isn't that bad. It's actually pretty good for the most part. Just kind of wish certain aspects were better, or it had some sort of different feel or style. Maybe something more along the lines of the stylistic choices of The Great Pretender, Japan Sings 20 Sunny, or even Devilman Crybaby. Just something with a little more style and uniqueness. But to be honest, the show is just not all that enjoyable. I found it hard to get myself to actually watch and finish it, and I just wasn't having the best time. And it's a shame because there were parts of the show that were really good in my opinion, and it showed that it had potential. There was this really cool Tribby section that was unique, and I really enjoyed the stuff about his past. And the points where Yasuke would just be riding his boat around town, fishing with the amazing soundtrack in the background, made me realize how good the show could truly be. I just wish it was more grounded and unrealistic, because I hate big dumb battles with crazy powers just for the sake of it. I like my fights and stories more grounded, or at least at the point where they build up to the crazy stuff over time, not just jumping headfirst into it, because when it does, it sort of just puts me to sleep. I'm not really interested. And I actually did watch this before bed because it was so good at making me feel drowsy, and to make things worse, the ending stinks. It was so cringy, and the sound effects as well could be so lame. They used these typical sparkle and pulsing type sound effects for the magic, and it just didn't sound good. Overall, I just wasn't a fan. If you like crazy powers and big battles, then sure, I guess I could recommend it, but I personally don't, or at least the way they did it. And it sucks because there were parts of this show that proved just how good the show could have been, but sadly, it doesn't reach those hopes. So Yasuke gets a 4 out of 10. It was a little bit of a disappointment. But hopefully you enjoyed the video and I wasn't too harsh. If you have any comments of your own, make sure to leave them down below. Trust me, I read them. Also, look at this graph. Okay. But as always, stay awesome, TooAwesome, thanks for watching.